Alright, a little bit of a different video on my channel, but basically, it's back to school time now, and my little brother, who's currently in high school, actually found a part-time job for the school year, so good on him. But basically, in Toronto, the TTC, which is our transport system, is very unreliable, and especially at night, wait times for buses are crazy. So he actually wanted to get my e-bike so he could transport between school and work a lot easier. And being the good big brother that I am, I decided to give him my trusty old e-bike that I've been using for bike deliveries for the past 2 years. And yeah, this will give him a lot easier time between school and work, and because of that, I need to go find a new bike. Alright, so since I needed to go find another e-bike, I had to do a lot of research, so I ended up browsing a lot of different websites, watching a lot of YouTube reviews about e-bikes, trying to decide what to get. And while I was browsing, I actually stumbled upon this website, Mokwheel, and then after that, a week later, they actually sent me a review request about this bike. So obviously, this bike is actually amazing. So I said yes, and they sent me the bike, and I've been really happy with it. So yeah, I decided to make a video about it, and this is not sponsored or in any shape or form, but just a fun little video. So let's get to the unboxing and see how the assembling process went for this bike.
Alright, starting off the box the bike comes in, it is absolutely huge, and while yes, you can carry it by yourself, I definitely recommend getting a second hand and helping the delivery driver as well, cause it's really heavy. Once you open up the top of the bike box, you're greeted by the box of accessories, and when you open that up, you can find a wrench set, a pair of larger wrenches, bike pedals, a couple more accessories, and even an included bike pump, which is super cool. There's also another smaller box with the bike charger inside and a user manual in which you'll find the assembly instructions. Note that Mokwheel does have a YouTube channel with different tutorials on it, so that's really handy too. Alright, let's unbox the rest of the parts in the box that are actually really well packaged, and let's start building this thing, which I'll just quickly show a little montage of. And here it is, the Mokwheel Mesa Plus ST in all its glory.
Alright, now that we've unboxed and assembled this thing, let's do a little walkthrough about the bike and what I like about its hardware and build quality. So starting off the handlebar, which is the first thing I have here, I really like these leather handles because they feel really soft on the hands, and I don't know, just having that premium stitching there makes it sort of feel like a high-end vehicle. And then also, these end caps over here, they're actually nice because on a lot of cheaper bikes, these tend to wear off and end up having a hole in them, so I'm glad that they just patched it up with a hard end cap at the end. And just like any other bike, there's nothing wrong with these brake handles. They're easy to hold and comfortable, and I actually think they're actually made out of metal because they're cool to the touch and they just feel super duper sturdy. And speaking about the actual brakes themselves, these brakes are actually really nice. Even if I travel at a really high speed and try to brake really fast, it feels really sturdy, it doesn't feel sloppy or anything like that, so that is great. Alright, now for the controls on the handlebar. On the left side, we basically have our main remote control for the bike. So we have the power button to turn on and off the bike. We also have the up and down arrows so we can set the amount of pedal assist we want from the bike, which I'll go into the speed classes afterwards. We have the light button to turn on the front headlights and the side lights right over here. And then we also have the horn, which actually gets pretty loud. And then big and bold in the center of the handlebar is our LCD display, which is probably the most premium feature about this bike because it's very rare that you see these type of displays on bikes. But anyways, on the display itself, you get information such as your speed, your battery bars, it shows you what your current trip kilometers are, it shows you how long you've been biking, and then also the speed level at which you set the assist to. And yeah, another good thing about this display is that it actually gets really bright. So even in harsh sunlight or when you're biking on the sunniest day, you'll still be able to see the screen, which is great. There's also a secondary display menu where you get to set the brightness of the screen, and then also your units for those of you who live in Canada for metric units, and then those of you in America who use the imperial system, which I personally don't like. And finally, on the right side, you get your fancy Shimano 7-speed gear shifter, and I basically leave it at the maximum because when you have bike pedal assist on, you basically want the most amount of resistance you can get. So that's why I leave it there. And then you also get your thumb throttle. So I really like thumb throttles a lot more than one of those twisty grips because first of all, it's safer because sometimes when you get on a bike that has a thumb throttle, you just accidentally launch yourself forward all the time, and sometimes it's hard to just spin it back when you're biking. So having the thumb throttle is a lot easier to use and a lot safer in my opinion. And then over here, you get a big front headlight, which is electronically attached to the system. So once you press the light button on the remote control, it actually turns on. And I actually really like this light because honestly, like when I bike with it at night, the range of like light is huge. Like it lights up the entire pavement and the trees like around the entirety of it, which is really great because like its visibility is really important at night. And then speaking about this big thing over here on either side, these are like the dual suspension forks and they work great. Honestly, like going through little bumps and roads and cracks on the sidewalks, or like when you're riding on the grass and rocks, it actually feels pretty good. And honestly, it's nice. So thumbs up from me. And then we have these big fat tires, which I will definitely be talking a lot about that when I go into how it feels to ride this bike, because honestly, fat tires, they're amazing. Like I had my doubts before, but I'm fully converted to fat tires because they're just so comfortable to ride on. And also it just makes it feel a lot sturdier. And I also like how they have like this fender over here. So, you know, you don't get like, when it's like wet outside or it's like muddy, you don't get any of that dust or like water like spitted onto you. And I also do like how they have a reflector on the bottom over here, so more safety features. And then finally, down the middle, we have arguably the most important part about the e-bike, which is the battery. So I really like how it's like very stealthily hidden in this front area over here. And the range you get from this bike is actually really good. So for those of you Americans, you guys get 35 to 55 miles of range per charge. And then for Canadians, I think it was like, what? I had to search this up because I can't convert this in my head. 56 to 89 kilometers, which is really, really great, and should be able to last you like a couple days if you're just commuting back and forth in a city, or like a really long road trip, which is absolutely great. You get indicator lights in the front, which is great. And then on the right side over here, which you guys can't see on the camera, is how you actually release the battery so that you can take it out and charge. Or if you're like me and lazy to do that, honestly, I just unplug this cover over here and just plug the included wall adapter in here to charge overnight, which is a lot faster. Oh, and another thing that I really, really like about this bike is that the battery is located in this front section here instead of like my old bike where it was integrated into the seat. So first of all, that makes the balance of the bike so much better, because on my old bike, when the battery was over here, like it would be really back heavy. So first of all, when you try to lift this thing up, like it would just lean over to this side and it'll be really hard to carry. And then when you're going up like hills, like with back heavy battery, you end up like going like backwards sort of. And with really steep ones, you're just gonna have to walk that thing up because there's no way like you can even pedal that up. So having a battery here honestly distributes the weight so much better. So like it feels like there's a better center of gravity and it's a lot easier to ride. And even though this battery is pretty big, the bike is around 70 pounds, so it's actually not too heavy. Like I can lift this pretty easily, which is great. And then it's also built like a tank, so this frame is fully built out of aluminum, and I think it supports up to 350 pounds. So like it honestly is great. All right, now let's talk about the seat. So this seat actually has a pretty wide base and it's kind of squishy as well. So, you know, that's good for your butt for extended periods of time. And I didn't find the need to go buy a third-party seat to replace this one because this one was pretty comfortable already. I also really like the clamp this thing uses to attach itself to the seat post, because on older bikes and like other bikes that I had, I found that it wears out really easily. And like sometimes when I'm riding, it would just suddenly like bottom me out and I would just like fall onto my seat suddenly. And this one, super duper sturdy, so that never happened to me a single time. And on their website, I actually saw that they had this cool little product called like a suspension seat post, where it's supposed to be even more comfortable. And all of this already has springs. I would be really delighted to try that one out. So, you know, Mokwheel, hook me up. And then on the bottom here, we have our pedals. So they're actually fully built out of metal, so they're super duper sturdy, not plastic, which means they won't crack. And then they also have grooves so that your shoes like slot onto it and won't slip off. I also like how they don't use like rubber stuff on it, because those usually fall off and they aren't that grippy to begin with. And also, I love their attention to design. So on the other side over here, I'll show you guys a clip of that. There's basically like these metal spirals that look really good and like catchy in the sky. There's also like a bunch of little text designs everywhere. So yeah, looks super premium, and I love their attention to detail. And last but not least, included in this bike, which I really like, is this flat little portion over here. So, you know, you can zip tie like bags or stuff to it. They also sell a lot of accessories on the website, so you can like get baskets on the back here, like, and even in the front, they actually have attachment ports, so you can even attach like a front basket. So I really like how they have a bunch of like accessories in their ecosystem, which is honestly really cool of them. And yeah, it just gives a lot of people a lot of options for like customizability and stuff. Finally, before I forget, I really like how this kickstand is quite long and it allows for a low angle. So like no matter which terrain you're on, like it's easy to set this down without this bike falling over the other way. And then just because of the nature of this bike, how it's a step-through design so that it's easier to get across and get on your seat, there's actually not a lot of places for you to put your bike lock. So my best solution for my U-shaped type lock is just put it on this really thin piece at the bottom over here. And yeah, that's honestly the best way to lock your bike. And then when you're chaining up to like a fence or like one of those bike racks, honestly, just like hooking up in one of these like thin areas onto the bike rack is the easiest way. And because of that, like you end up having to use your rear tires to hook up to the front instead of your front tires. But honestly, it works and I haven't had many problems with it locking up my bike in public. And finally, we can talk about how this bike performs and how it feels to ride. And honestly, this is like a big improvement from the old one that I used to use because I used to think that was pretty good, but after trying this, I am mind blown. So first of all, this bike uses, on the website, it says a 750 watt motor, which is honestly very strong. And I'm in Canada, so when I got the box out of the package, and there's even a sticker on the back over here, it says that it's using a lower spec 500 watt model for a top speed of 18 miles an hour or 29 kilometers. But honestly, I think they just gave me the regular 750 watt version because this definitely did not limit at 29 kilometers an hour. Like the first time I set it on max pedal assist and I just floored this bike, it went like 45 kilometers an hour and I was freaking out. I was like, holy crap, it goes so fast. But yeah, honestly, having a really good motor on an e-bike just makes so much sense. And honestly, it makes the ride experience a lot better because, you know, first of all, this thing feels like it has a lot of torque. So when you like press on the throttle button or when you start biking, you get that instant torque. So, you know, it just immediately just start going forward without feeling like you're missing any sort of power. So like, you know, sometimes when you're on other e-bikes, when you like press down on the throttle or start biking, you get that period where like your bike is sort of like stuck in a mode and you kind of have to like shove it forward for the motor to actually start spinning and for the bike to actually go forward. But I've never experienced that a single time on this bike. And even when I'm going uphill, this bike never stalls at all. So that is really, really great. And then just to talk about the speed classes and what you can expect from the pedal assist, there's actually 5 different levels you can adjust and they all have different max speeds. So I have this written down on my notes. Level 1, you get up to 10 miles an hour or 16 kilometers an hour of speed. Level 2, which is the one I use most often, especially if I'm on smaller roads, it gets you to 15 miles an hour and 24 kilometers an hour of speed. Level 3, which is like the one I usually use on like bike lanes in roads and stuff, gets you up to 20 miles an hour and 32 kilometers an hour, which is actually above the speed limit for e-bikes in Canada already. And then level 4, it gets you to 25 miles an hour or 40 kilometers an hour. And level 5, which is crazy fast, gets you to 28 miles an hour and 45 kilometers an hour. So like when I'm driving, like 60 kilometers an hour feels like absolutely nothing. But like when you're on a bike, it's completely different because, you know, you're exposed to like the environment. There's wind just like blowing on your face. All you hear is the wind going by. And yeah, it honestly just kind of feels really scary. But honestly, it's really, really fun. And then finally, for the fat tires. So, you know, honestly, when I shopped for my first e-bike, I really stayed away from fat tires because I thought it would make the bike really heavy. I thought it would be really hard to pedal the bike. And honestly, I don't know why I thought that, but after using fat tires, they're actually game-changing and they're really, really nice. So first of all, like fat tires, it feels a lot more stable to ride on. So like when you're wobbling, when you're turning, it just gives you like this sense of security and just feels really nice and tight to turn on. And also, you know how when you sit in an SUV versus like a low sedan, like being on just like slightly elevated on top of the road makes it feel so much more comfortable and it's just nice. It's a nice feeling, and if you guys drive, you guys will know what I mean about that. The grip on these tires are actually really good too, so like even when it's slightly raining or when I'm like turning like really hard or like sharply, I never felt like the back tire would like slip or slide, which is really good for safety because that actually happened to me before on a couple of bikes when like I would turn really sharp and the entire back just slides straight out to the side and my bike would topple over. That's kind of my fault for going fast though. But yeah, I also like this bike, like it can actually, with the fat tires, it can actually ride on the grass fairly comfortably, which is actually surprising. Like I never thought I would be able to like ride on like bumpy grass and rocks and stuff like compared to a normal bike, or like a mountain bike for example. And this thing handles it like a champ. And finally, probably what my favorite thing about having a fat tire is that like when you're on a sidewalk and you're going through those little cracks, you just feel less of the bumpiness, and that could also do with the suspension. But like even like when you're like mounting onto the curb from the road onto the sidewalk, this thing can actually climb that like curb because these tires are so like big. And just like coming off the curb as well, it just feels a lot more comfortable and it doesn't feel like you're gonna break the bike. And honestly, like more times out of not, like I would actually dare to like jump on the curb or like come off of it, which I would definitely not with my other older bikes with those thinner tires. And yeah, honestly, this bike is just so much fun to ride. Like it gets you to places really, really fast, especially in Toronto because, you know, the traffic is absolutely crazy here. So like if you're downtown or somewhere where there's a lot of traffic, it's actually a lot faster to ride with a bike compared to like taking a car. And also TTC is very unreliable. There's always delays. There's a lot of people on it. So it's actually faster than taking the TTC in pretty much most scenarios as well. And honestly, just having this much power in your hands, it just feels so nice, you know, just like listening to earbuds on like bone conduction headphones and just like driving through the breeze. It feels really, really good. And honestly, it's amazing. And also like when you're accelerating, the sound it creates, it's like super futuristic. It's almost like an EV. You just hear the whine of the motor. And because these wheels are so big and full of air, you actually get this sort of like unique hollow sounding thing, which actually sounds pretty cool. And then yeah, I'm gonna like definitely show you guys a snippet of how it sounds on when you're riding the bike right now. But yeah, that's it for the video. I'm like moving into Kingston tomorrow, so I have to load this on a truck and all that. So that's why I just quickly decided to film a video about this really quick. And yeah, honestly, solid bike. I'm super duper happy with it. And you know, thanks again Mokwheel for sending this over because this is honestly gonna be amazing in Kingston, especially when I'm gonna be doing like bike deliveries for food, just to like get some money for rent and living costs and stuff like that. And yeah, honestly, super duper cool bike. And if you guys have any questions, just drop them down in the comments and I'll be sure to answer you guys back as soon as possible. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, definitely go ahead and smash the like and subscribe button, and also check out some of the other content that I do on my channel, so mainly tech and stuff if you're interested. And yeah, thank you so much guys for watching and have a great one, and I'll see you guys in the next one.